we're going to talk a little bit about Harry Potter. And we're going to talk a little bit about how TERFs do not actually give a shit about women or protecting them. Much in the same way that conservatives do not give a shit about kids or protecting them. Well, they do give a shit about kids, but
Not in the way you would want them to.
with that said, Harry Potter was made by J.K. Rowling. And I was a big Harry Potter fan when I was a little lad. I actually read through every single one of those fucking books over the course of 2 weeks on a vacation to Colorado. I would literally be up all day and all night in the car, at restaurants, while like just sitting outside, just chilling out on like a stump or hanging out in the snow or whatever. I'd be reading those books. And I burned through all of them in, no pun intended, burn. I got through all of them in 2 weeks. I'd already seen the movies before, and I'd liked them, but I'd never given the books like a really fair shot. So that was when I really just pushed through them all, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it mostly because at the time I wasn't really capable of appreciating larger, higher fantasy storytelling. Um, you see, probably 2 years later, I would kind of grow out of Harry Potter, so to say. And I'm not trying to like trigger anybody who still likes Harry Potter if they're older. But from my perspective, I just kind of grew out of Harry Potter. And even though I'd always loved Lord of the Rings, I found myself really finding myself being 100,000% a diehard fan of that. Reading through all of the books again when I was 15 and 16, kind of solidifying that and being old enough to fully understand the scale and scope and implications and all of that of the world that Tolkien wrote. And I found myself kind of growing out of Harry Potter, but regardless, Harry Potter does still have a little special place in my heart. A little carved out nook, a little tiny little hole, like a trypophobia image, just a little hole in my heart carved out for it, right? It's all right, I guess. I may acquire in ways that do not give J.K. Rowling money that new Harry Potter game, the Hogwarts Legacy one, and stream it. That could be fun. Who knows? We'll play the turf game on stream. With that said, basically, I wasn't really a Harry Potter fan when J.K. Rowling started to tank her reputation. You see, I'd long since grown out of it, but J.K. Rowling was still somebody that I'd respected for quite a while until she started to do some questionable stuff. She started with her weird retconning. You see, for a long time, people made fun of J.K. Rowling for the fact that she would just kinda on Twitter go and say, by the way, this character was gay. Don't mind the fact that there's not even a hint of evidence to that in the story, and that I didn't take the opportunity to make this a seen example of representation of a gay character, and instead I'm clearly just saying it so that I can get woke points on Twitter and brownie points and back pats. And because of this, J.K. Rowling grew a very sizable lefty and progressive following online, and the right became very much opposed to her and would like say she was cringe and bad and make memes about her being cringe, right? But the left generally, outside of like, oh, she's retconning, they would make fun of her for that, generally saw her as being somewhat progressive, like at least liberals did, right? Then she decided it would be a good idea to voice her opinion on trans people, particularly trans women. I'm not going to muddy the water here or just soften the blow. I'm just going to outright say it. J.K. Rowling believes that trans women are men pretending to be women so they can infiltrate women's spaces and take advantage of them sexually. That is what J.K. Rowling believes. She believes trans women want to go into women's bathrooms so that they can rape them, sexually assault them, or maybe just make them feel uncomfortable and get off on it, I guess, is their thought process. That is just outright what J.K. Rowling believes. Now, for a while, she started off just kind of hinting at this concept of being gender critical, right? Like not really being all on board with the whole gender as a social construct thing, which is, of course, through and through transphobic, but not necessarily hateful and vitriolic. But over time, it got to be to the point where J.K. Rowling's messaging is just trans people are predators and mentally ill degenerates. It's really just to that point now. That's really more or less where her propaganda is. She's lost a large part of her actually progressive audience. She has become a very popular figure among the right, despite claiming to be a feminist. And her Twitter account has basically become her, like, mental breakdown, like, drunk wine mom hate post forum. Like, especially with Elon Musk being owner of Twitter now, she's not getting banned for her hate anytime soon. And one of her favorite pastimes, of course, is to quote tweet random trans women and send her TERF follower base to harass them and say you'll never be a woman, or like say you're a groomer, or whatever it may be. Lots of trans people have been quote tweeted and had their had J.K. Rowling's fan base sent after them. She's a real class act. So with that said, let's go over this article by the Mary Sue and see what J.K. Rowling is up to as of yesterday. If J.K. Rowling's women's shelter turns away trans women, then it isn't helping women. Little background here, J.K. Rowling just a couple days ago announced that she is founding a women's abuse shelter, which of course will not allow trans women. Who would have thought? J.K. Rowling has announced that she is funding a new support and counseling service for female survivors of sexual violence in Edinburgh. However, it's been made clear that the center will only employ and serve cisgender women. Of course, they will only employ cisgender women as well, so they'll also be engaging in discrimination when it comes to hiring based on gender identity. That's cool. The new center, Bira's Place, will work alongside official networking of sexual assault support in Scotland, such as Edinburgh Rape Crisis, currently run by a trans woman, Mridul The new center, Bira's Place, will work alongside official networking of sexual assault support in Scotland, such as Edinburgh Rape Crisis, currently run by a trans woman, Mridul Wadhwa. Very hard to pronounce the name. There we go. That sounds good, at least. That doesn't sound like it's too bad. The author has said that she wanted to set up the center because she believes there is an unmet need for women in the Edinburgh area. As a survivor of sexual assault myself, I know how important it is that survivors have the option of woman-centered and woman-delivered care at such a vulnerable time, Rowling explained in a public statement. So basically what J.K. Rowling is saying here is that, like, trans women are men, and that men are inherently violent and imposing figures, and that women should have the right to be bigoted towards, like, men, or frankly whoever they deem. Like, imagine arguing this specifically for black men. Imagine you make a rape and sexual assault shelter for women. Like, you specifically don't allow black men to work there, or black women to go there, because, like, some of the white women there, because it's only for white women, because some white women have been raped by a black man and don't feel comfortable around black people. And so I really think there needs to be a shelter for women who feel triggered in the presence of a black person after their rape. Like, this logic would never fucking follow. It's just bigotry. You can't justify your bigotry because somebody did a thing to you. Now everybody of that group you're allowed to just say, oh no, you're not allowed to be hired here. You're not allowed to be in my presence in public places. Like, go fuck off. Bira's Place will be managed by two experienced specialists in rape crisis support, Isabel Kerr and Susan Domine. Kerr told The Guardian that sexual offenses are gendered crimes that are overwhelmingly perpetuated by men and disproportionately experienced by women. That is true, but trans women are not men. Bira's Place recognizes that effective sexual violence services must be independent, needs-led, and provide responsive, woman-centered services so that they are free from the pressure of current political agendas. They're saying that trans women being women is a political agenda that they want rape victims to be free of. Like, don't worry, here you don't have to pretend like those freaks are actually valid. That's basically what she's saying. While it's true that Rape Crisis has been oversubscribed for that rape crisis has been oversubscribed for several years, the organization has also suffered from transphobic attacks following its long-standing trans-inclusive policies. Because of our work to make Edinburgh Rape Crisis Center more trans inclusive, the transphobia directed at our center has been very loud lately, Rape Crisis wrote in a letter to its trans service users during Trans Awareness Week. The threats are mainly online. The impact has been felt both by our staff and our clients. Sadly, we're hearing from some of you that you're afraid to come to the center in person. Yes, for those of you guys that don't know, in the UK, the TERFs are pretty much like Proud Boy tier in the UK. Like, they're actually insane enough, I feel like, that they would vandalize and attack a building that supplies, like, trans support. Like, that's the kind of thing the TERFs there would do, because they genuinely seem to believe that they're fighting against, like, rapists, I guess. Such attacks are often led by so-called gender-critical feminists, who have adopted Rowling as their figurehead. They see being assigned female at birth, or AFAB, as a shared experience that is intrinsic to womanhood and will often not accept non-binary or trans identities. This has led to many calling for women-only spaces to be accessible by only AFAB people, as in the case of this crisis center. Rape crisis services across Scotland are experiencing huge demand for their services. This demand, combined with the lack of sustainable funding, is leading to some centers facing very difficult waiting lists, Sandy Brindley, the chief executive of Rape Crisis Scotland, told The Guardian. In this demanding context, we of course welcome any new service which has in place rigorous safeguarding procedures and is staffed by highly trained professionals to support survivors of sexual violence. So basically what's happening here is J.K. Rowling is doing like a massive DreamWorks smile at the trans community right now. She is doing a lay epic own, as they would say. So let me tell you exactly what happened when J.K. Rowling was talking to her TERF and like British neo-Nazi friends that she's been hanging out with behind the scenes. They were like, it would really be such a fantastic idea to own those trans people. What if we used all of our money, because we're wealthy white women, what if we used all of our money to found a rape recovery service center, and we said that no trans women were allowed, and we included a very anti-trans agenda with it, but we also provided a bunch of really good services, so anybody who criticized us for our horrific political opinions would look like the rape recovery services. Oh, that would just be such an own on the trans community, wouldn't it, ladies? Wouldn't it, girls? Oh. And then they laugh and they drink their wine like, oh yes, it would be so amazing. Oh, and of course they're also like cupping their hands and smelling their own farts. Like, that is 100% how that went. Like, we're gonna found a rape survivors support group that bans trans people and also clarifies in their messaging trans women are men and predators and dangerous, and their validity is just part of a political agenda, and that anybody who criticizes this will look like they're anti-rape recovery services. Very clever little thing. Conservatives are going to start dunking on lefties who criticize J.K. Rowling for this, being like, very interesting that these lefties and supposed feminists are criticizing this brave woman who's built a support system for women recovering from sexual assault and rape. Very interesting. And they'll do that, like, to your face. And they know that you know, and you know that they know. And it's just... checkmate, Lincolnites. It is crucial that life-saving support offered by rape crisis centers is available to trans and non-binary people, she added. All rape crisis services in Scotland offer support to trans women and have done so for 15 years. There has not been a single incident of anyone abusing this. This is only the latest known action from Rowling in her fight to make the lives of trans people worse after regularly taking to Twitter with her transphobic views. While so far her views have been contained to horrifically timed threads during Pride, this is the first time that her turfness has encroached into real-world spaces. Putting such restrictive access to vital support services like these is a disgusting example of what happens when views get radicalized enough. As a Scottish resident, I can only be thankful for my trans neighbors that there are other services that still offer trans-inclusive support to those who need it. Rape Crisis Scotland offers a wealth of valuable services, including a hotline and several in-person centers. Yes, this is just demonic on J.K. Rowling's part. This is like, oh, you're like a 16-year-old trans girl who got like raped by your stepdad when you came out, and he was like, oh, I'm gonna tell you, this is what you get. You think you're a girl? This is what you get. And you go to like J.K. Rowling's like rape survivor crisis center, and you go up there and you're like, hi, I'm a 16-year-old trans girl. My stepdad sexually assaulted me. I need a place to stay, and I need to contact the police. And they're just like,
I think what you mean is you're a man pretending to be a woman, bringing your ideology here into this building, this woman-centered space where women are being catered to by women in their needs. Do you really... This is the audacity that men have to think they have the right to enter women's spaces like this and ask for our services, to ask for our help. This is male privilege. You are showing your male privilege right now. You are showing your male privilege.
that is exactly. Can you? This is literally. I can run a fucking emulation of their brains of their brain in my own brain. Okay, I am word for word quoting what that worker at that clinic would say to the 16-year-old trans girl seeking help from their services. That is exactly what they would say and how it would sound.
Your male privilege is showing, thinking that you can come here and ask for our services.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh yeah, top X, mate. Top X. Anyway, the moral of the story is, cis white British women are awful, and we need to go to war with the UK. We really just need to do that. With that said, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like and a comment down below. It helps my video, my VODs, and my channel a lot more than I think you guys know. And of course, if you want to see more from me, you can subscribe and ring the bell icon to turn on all notifications so YouTube actually tells you when I go live or upload a new video. And of course, you can also follow my social medias, which are all linked down below in the description as always. And as well, you can support me financially if you've got the money for it, don't need it for anything else, and simply just don't know what to do with it, by donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or supporting me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, or Patreon. But no matter how you support me, I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.